So let's start from the beginning just to give, like, I know you've been on so many podcasts, and so it's, you know, I don't want to be the same stories of, like, I really want to just get into the personal stuff if we can, but start at the beginning of where are you from? Like, what's your story?
Amazing. I'm actually an Arizona native. There's not many of us.
Me too.
Yes. Where'd you go to high school?
Mountain View.
Okay. I went to Gilbert. What year did you graduate?
02.
Okay, so a little bit later. So you know Heidi Powell. She probably went to Mountain View the same time you did because she graduated
like
my year.
2 year older.
Okay, yeah, I just chatted with her recently because we were talking about.
on.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
she's been on my podcast.
Okay.
Let's take it back. So born and raised here in Arizona, and I've always, you know, I guess just to kind of give everyone context, you know, I am in fitness right now. So like I've owned gyms for many years, and ever since selling my gyms in 2018, I've kind of dove into the online space and women entrepreneurship and helping women step into their power. But just to kind of like rewind, I wasn't always in that place. So like fitness wasn't a pillar of my life, although sports was. Okay. So, you know, when I was younger, I started playing softball and volleyball and like all the things. And so I actually went to college on a softball scholarship to Arizona State. And so, and that's kind of like, we'll kind of start the story there of like college, of really finding myself and finding the things that I really enjoy. And I remember this pivotal moment when I was actually have my bachelor's in political science, and I took my LSAT for law school. I was a Democratic intern at the House of Representatives. Like I was in politics. Gosh. Yeah, like I was going down that road, going to law school, all the things. And there was this pivotal moment when I was like 20, where I was a junior, maybe 19, 20. I was a junior in college, and I remember like preparing for law school or to take my LSAT and do all the things to like send off to go to like apply to law school. Yeah. And I had already started training people at this point. I started training people out of my garage, literally with the partner I was with. This is why I believe that people come into your life for a reason, that either put you down the path you're supposed to be on, and maybe they're in your life for like a season. And he was definitely that. And so like he opened my eyes up to like training and coaching, and I started training people out of my garage. We lived together. When I was in college, and I fell in love with it. And I remember this pivotal moment of like basically applying to law school, and I knew that that's not what I wanted to do. And it was like that pivotal moment of like passion meets purpose. And for me, I've always naturally been a coach, a mentor, wanting to help people. And so I made the decision to not go to law school and continue the route down fitness, not knowing where it was going to take me. And so like that's sort of the start of my story when it comes to, you know, following your heart, following the things that you're really driven by, and then leaving room for magic, like leaving room for not knowing the outcome. Again, every choice that I've made over the last 20 something years has never really come from logic. Yeah. It's come from this desire to create something really epic. And because the logical thing in my head would have been, let's go to law school, let's have a normal job. Because according to my mom, quote unquote, that was like, you're successful if you're a lawyer, which is, I was the first to graduate in my family from, university. And so in my mom's head, she's like, you have to do something like that. You need to be like a nurse or a doctor or a lawyer. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not good at math and I don't like blood. So let's go the lawyer route because I'm really good at talking. Yeah. So, you know, it was just that pivotal moment of like, this isn't logical, but this is driving me right now. And I don't know where it's going to take me. And everything that I've done has been because I made a decision to follow my heart. And so that's been the last 20 something years.
But those decisions too, was it not just making the decision, you just like did?
Oh, I did it. I didn't talk about it. Yeah, like you wouldn't even know. Like I didn't know anything about business. Opening up my first gym after like training people out of my house, got my first storefront when I was like 23, like very young. I didn't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was 23. And so over the course of like 23 to 35, I had opened up and closed 3 gyms over that time, not knowing anything about business. That's so like literally, I remember my last Gym Fit method. I had sought investors. You know, again, I think my naivete really got me through, but I think sometimes being naive.
I was going to say, it's like when someone gets pregnant young, it's just like,
you just like figure it out, you know? And so I remember like, okay, like I'm going to need around $300,000 to open up this gym. I don't have those liquid funds. Let me find an investor. Yeah. And I found an investor. I remember him telling me, and this is like the first time I've ever had like someone challenge my like like challenged me in wanting to think bigger. And I remember I wrote out a business plan. I literally Googled it. And this was before ChatGPT. So I'm sure ChatGPT AI can like write you a whole business plan now. But literally I'm like Googling how to write a business plan and putting a business plan together. And he's like, I don't think you're thinking big enough. And that was the first time I was ever like, oh, like we can think bigger, you know? And so it was really interesting, but yeah.
And what age was that?
That was, oh my gosh, I was 29, 30, almost 30.
Awesome.
And so, and that was my last gym, sold it in 2018. But I'm very much a doer.
Yeah.
And if you know human design, I don't know if your audience are familiar with human design.
Getting into it.
Okay, I'm not an expert, but I've learned a lot about myself through these tools, like so different tools like Enneagram or astrology or Myers-Briggs personality tests, human design. I'm very much, so my profile is a 3-5. I know your audience may not know, but for those who know, I mean, look up, you can find your human design right now. Just Google it and you can put in all your stuff. But literally, I am a responder, and I also am a 3-5 profile, which means that my journey is brought upon a lot by trial and error. Okay. So I'm very much a doer, and I'm very much risk averse, meaning I don't care to fail. Yeah, I don't. It's see not the failure. Risk. It's not failure. Yeah, it's just okay. I'm done with this, and now I'm on to the next. Yeah. Like I am not. Although my humanness for many years, and when I say humanness, my ego. Yeah. Would come into place. So I very much am like trial and error, risk adverse, but I also am, I guess, motivated, not anymore, but at the time in my like 20s and 30s, motivated by success and what people thought of me. Yeah. So like, what are people going to think now that I'm this business owner? Like I very much had to present this front that I was this successful person, even though many times maybe didn't feel it. So there's a lot of that going on too. Like I'll do things and I will try things and I will fail and I will try again. But I also very much care about what people think until I hit my 40s. I'm 42 now. So like, I don't really care what people think anymore. Like I am all about like what is making me happy and what is going to like help me thrive in life. But for many years I was driven by that ego self. Yeah.
It's interesting because that's one of the things that your energy that I was attracted to, because I've been following you for a long time. Like it was mostly fitness and I saw that like it's so amazing to see your transformation and like just being a part of it, because I could feel that where you, and I mean, maybe because the fitness world too, it just comes across that way where you are, you care what people think about you. You're like, that's why you're looking like you do, those kind of things. So, but it is amazing to see your journey, and especially as you're tapping more into, I think like this, like the energy work and just finding more pieces of yourself. That's one of the reasons why I was like, yep, she's going to be on, because too, for me, like, I feel like we're it's that same, I'm in my 40s and just feeling that vibe of like, I don't care. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like, let's make this life epic. Like, why does everyone?
Absolutely. Yeah. And honestly, you don't have to stay small for anybody. It's one of those things where, thank you for that reflection. Yeah. I would love to give you a reflection if you're open to it. I have seen that with you, that shift, like really stepping into your content creation and stepping into being seen more, front facing, and really and I've been seeing that for a couple years, because I know we've chatted for a couple years. I remember going to coffee a couple years back and like seeing that shift in you. And I've seen it as someone who has been following you as well. Yeah. And so it's really neat to see. But sometimes the timing, and this is where a lot of women, because I imagine that you're probably going to have a lot of women listeners, men too, people.
I mean, we're hot, so they're gonna listen to it.
Right, exactly. But this is where we have to really let go of timelines. Yeah. Because the moment that we start adding these timelines into our life, and so like the reason, so I don't believe in coincidences. Yeah. I also believe in like my divine timing is my divine timing. And so like people are always like, and this is where we have to stop comparing to others, to other women or other people who are doing things. You're like, oh my gosh, look at her. She's doing these things in real estate, or she's opening up this business. Like, what about me? And like, well, maybe you aren't who you need to be yet at this moment to be able to support that sort of success, or to support like being seen. Because some people have a lot of inner work to do. And if they were to show up on social media now and get any sort of negative backlash or trolls, or let's say a video goes viral and they don't have a regulated nervous system, they're going to give up. They're going to be destroyed by any negativity, right? So like I had to go through certain things in life, like, you know, certain things. I was on a reality TV show where I was literally destroyed for like a week on Twitter, literally. And if I hadn't gone through things, or if I had not prepared myself or had been the person that I was, I would not have been able to handle that. Whereas like my sister, on the other hand, who saw what was happening, like she was depressed for like 6 months, you know, and I was like, Tony, don't read the comments. Her name's Tony. And so like sometimes I do believe that we have to like go through certain things. We have to learn and be a certain way in order for us to support the lifestyle that we want to live. You know, I feel the same way about money. You know, like why do you think that 75% of lottery winners go bankrupt within the first 5 years? Because they don't know how to hold that sort of money, right? But why is it that once a millionaire who loses the $1 million or who goes bankrupt, more likely, I forgot the percentage, pretty high, that they're going to make that money back. Because they have the slight edge. They have the tools to be able to create that sort of income, right? Versus someone who's just like a windfall of money, chances are they spend it, they lose it, and they're back to where they were. You know, I call it the financial thermostat, right? And so they've hit that like upper limit, if you've ever read the book Big Leap. And so it's really important to, and this is why I'm so passionate about the journey of women. So the journey you had to go through to be the person you are now, interviewing epic guests and people, and being able to launch this epic podcast and do the things that you're doing. You had to be, you couldn't just show up as her now. You had to go through all of those things to be her now. So it's really interesting.
Do you feel like, thank you for that. It's really fun, I think. And there is no coincidence, by the way, that I know, I can't remember exactly why I reached out to you years ago to go to coffee. I don't know what you remember from it, but it was like there's some reason why you came up, you know, like there wasn't, it just was for, I don't know, I needed you in my life for that second to just connect with. And even if it's like, I get invited to your stuff all the time and I'm always like, it's not on a day that I can do it. But I think that, there's no coincidence that for sure we're supposed to, like even just here showing up, we've run into how many amazing women that are, it's amazing. It's awesome. But I think that I'm still obviously going through my journey. I'm just in a place where for me as like a business owner and all the things and wanting to do all the things, like, because I can literally taste it, I can feel it, I'm there. And what I get the most stressed out about, and like why I'm covered in hives half the time, like right now, because I'm doing a lot of hiring and stuff, is that like trying to figure out the pace and not, and like the timing and forcing things, because now I'm like, this is the time where I have positioned myself to do these things. And I always wanted to do those things and knew those things, but I just didn't, I had a fog over me because I was distracted, right, by like the wrong choices or just not choosing me. Like I am in a full, I am here to receive, like.
Isn't that so fun?
Yes. It is a little bit scary as a single lady because I'm like,
let's
break
I'm
that
not
down. Pushing things away.
No. You aren't, because the right things will attract, I believe, when you are in your feminine element. So for the listener, I love diving into these topics of like the feminine, the masculine energies. So you mentioned something, the word receive, right? So when you are in your feminine state, you are receiving. Like think of, even if you wanted to get literal, like receiving, you know, during sex, right? And so like when you are in that state, and when you're flowing, and when things come to you with ease and you're attracting, it feels so much better. But again, it's a state of being versus doing, right? The masculine energy is the doing. You're going to implement, you're going to integrate, you're kicking butt in real estate, you're doing all the things. But when you can have this fine mix of that feminine and masculine energy, and when I talk about those energies, it has nothing to do with stereotype and everything to do with the way that we show up in the world and the way that we feel about ourselves, right? So the being and the doing. And so it's a really amazing place to be. And I do believe that when a woman is able to tap into her femininity, and I know that being a single mom, you probably had to really like step into the masculine energy for many years, supporting your kids, supporting yourself. I was there too.
Yeah.
And there was this like shift that happened in my relationship. So I'm with my high school sweetheart,
And I feel like I've seen this too.
Yes.
It's so amazing.
well, let me just share. And
Okay.
so maybe a woman or someone can, relate to this.
Yeah.
But because I was single for so long and I was supporting myself for so long, I was hyper masculine, meaning like I made all the decisions. I, was a creator of my own money. I lived by myself. I had my home, my car. Like I took care of myself.
Yeah.
And when Keith came back into my life, now Keith is so great. Keith was a high school sweetheart. We reconnected after 7 years. Or 17 years. We've been together now for 7 years. And we're engaged, and we built a house. We do all the things. And it wasn't until, I would say, year 4, so 3 years ago now, is when I started to because I noticed that I would create these problems in our relationship. I would resent him for all the things that I wanted him to do. But then it was this realization I'm resenting him for not being romantic or not planning things or not being alpha or taking a step here or but it's because I'm already doing it. I didn't allow him to step into his masculine. Yeah. I was already doing the things that I wanted him to do, expecting him to do it, and judging him for not.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a couple years ago where I got into my receiving energy and I stepped into this feminine state of receiving a flow of surrender and something magical happened in our relationship. Like he started turning up and being this man that I wanted him to be from the beginning, but I never allowed him to. And so this shift happened in our relationship, this dynamic. It was a lot more ebbs and flows of that masculine and feminine energy where we had better sex. We talked in a deeper state. He felt seen, he felt heard, he felt needed. Yeah. And our relationship was never better. It completely shifted because I shifted. Yeah. And that is the power of that feminine and masculine energy. Yeah.
But why the shift? Was it what was the
I got
knock
tired
on
of
the
fighting.
door?
Yeah, I got tired of fighting. It was the same fight. It was the same feeling. It was like I was trying to force something. And if anyone has ever tried to force something, force a relationship, force a friendship, force a business, it doesn't feel good. No. It literally creates burnout. Yeah. It makes you feel like crap. Yeah. It literally feels hard. Yeah. It feels, and so I used to think that things had to be hard. Yeah. I had to suffer in order for it to be worth it. Yeah. Relationships had to be chaos because if there wasn't, was there really love? Yeah. Right. I for many years mistook love, control for love. Yeah. And so it was that shift. I just got tired of it being so hard.
Was it therapy or what was the?
Honestly, it was me working on myself. So it was me. I started, so I don't know if you've ever seen me talk about goddess yoga. Mm-hmm. I started getting into really sensual feminine modalities.
Done a couple.
Yeah. I got certified. I became master certified. Now I'm wanting to create my own somatic practice that's not quite goddess yoga, but a mix of it. And it's really tapping into that, tapping into my feminine self, allowing myself to experience pleasure and joy, chatting and talking with epic women that allowed me to see what I was doing. Yes, counseling, 100%. But it was these different modalities that allowed me to see what I was doing.
So it's working on yourself. Mm-hmm. Instead of doing the force of you need to fix this, you need to change. It was let me fix myself, and then what will come will come.
Well, see, the thing is, okay, so Albert Einstein says the insanity is literally doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Yeah. So change. We always came up on these same problems. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why do I keep feeling this way? Why are we having this same fight? Why is this happening? And then at some point you have to do things differently. Mm-hmm. You have to respond differently, right? And so it was that awareness. First step is awareness. Yeah. First step is
admitting it. The ego's no, not me.
oh my gosh, there's so much pride there. There's so much, this like so hard for me to admit that I'm wrong, but like how good does it feel to respond so much differently? So like I even challenge the listener right now who, if you're having the same fight with your partner or same fight with your business partner or friend, I challenge you to not respond how you normally would respond, to respond differently, to respond with love, essentially. Yeah. And what you'll notice is when you respond with love, the person that you are in a relationship with or friendship with or partnership with will also, their guard will be down. Yeah. They will respond differently.
And once you receive a little bit of it, you're like,
oh, it feels so good. Oh my gosh, it feels so good.
Like this pressure off of you.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if it's Gabby Bernstein that always says, like, how about you step back and don't worry about their side of the street for a second. Clean up your side.
Yes.
And see what happens if they cross over the street.
100%.
Because then there's space for them because it's clean.
It's clean.
And if they don't, then you know it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
So there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And you're right. The first step is just being aware of what you're doing. I mean, this goes with anything in your life. This could be your fitness goals. If you keep self-sabotaging or you're coming up on the same issues, like you start a meal plan or start a workout plan and then you fall off, what if you just approached it a little differently? What if you responded a little bit differently? And it starts with you. So,
Yeah, that's so interesting. Have you ever done like any kind of hypnotherapy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did it not years, but like I remember years ago, I did it for maybe 5 or 6 months because I was going through my healing journey with my dad at the time. He's not in my life, but I knew I had some like abandonment stuff that was there. And so I had a little bit of trauma and a little bit of stuff going on. So hypnotherapy helped with that for sure. Okay. It actually brought up like things that I had buried. So I remember like I was also doing EMDR.
I was just going to say, it's very like,
it was in my subconscious. It was in me and even like in my body, but I had forgotten about it. I had like blocked it out until I did some of these therapies that reignited it. And then I had to work through it. Yeah. So
it's like kind of like that inner child work.
Yeah.
That's my experience with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even I feel like hypnotherapy, even for me, like tapped deeper than EMDR. And it like brought up, it just kind of also in the place that I'm at, like reaffirmed of where I'm at. Like I showed up for my little self in this like vision. It was so interesting.
That's really interesting you say that because anytime I do breath work, my little Felicia comes in. Always my like 5 or 6 year old Felicia. I see her in breath work. Yeah.
It just gives me that same feeling of what we were just talking about of the second that you tap into your feminine side and you do your work. And then when someone comes back and gives you that, what you were looking for, and it's just this natural flow. It's that same thing of when you can calm your inner child and like in my, just to be weirdo, but like going into my, little scenario when I got my last hypnotherapy, it was like just so nice that like I just held her hand and like walked her through every scenario through my life to my current like place that I'm living in, that I was deciding on like where am I moving, like, and just big change. And it was this time where this last year where I was like, I want change. I literally changed from what kind of like from Android to iPhone, car, house, business partner, relationship, where I live. And I've like, it's chaos, but it's also like, it's so, I can enjoy it and it's beautiful like in it because I just feel like I'm being guided and I'm actually stepping into what I was meant to step into, even though I don't know where the fuck I'm going. Yeah. But it like feels so good still.
It does. It feels so good. And honestly, I think I love that you made those decisions for yourself because oftentimes as women, I feel like we don't really ask ourselves, what is it that we actually want? Yeah. We don't ask ourselves that question. The first time that I ever truly asked myself that question is when I was reading a book called Rich as F. If you've ever read it, it's by Amanda Francis. Okay. And she asked this question in the book and I was like, oh my gosh, why is this so hard to answer?
It's hard to find that clarity when you're just like in life and busy and in a relationship.
And being honest about what you want, not thinking that you have to say the right thing, but like really being honest, like, oh, you want to build a 7-figure business? Okay, then claim it.
Yeah.
Like, you want that?
Yeah.
Claim it. You know, it's okay to want the material things, but also to know at the end of the day, because there was this pivotal moment a couple years back, actually, when we moved into our house in 2020, right before the pandemic. I remember the process of building the house. We're like in our dream home right now.
Yeah.
And
So pretty.
thank you. I remember telling myself, I remember just not feeling happy. And I would tell myself, oh, once we're in this house, I will be set. I will be happy.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to like decorate and do all the
Picket fence,
things.
white picket fence.
Everything. The thing that I thought it was going to give me. Yeah. And I've had this many times in my life, even when I've hit like financial milestones. And I remember when we had gotten in the house, it was like months in, and I still had this feeling of like not enoughness.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I remember feeling kind of scared. Like, and I remember talking to Keith about it, and it scared me. I'm like, oh, I thought this was going to be the thing, you know? And I found myself like going to the next thing. Oh, it's not until we have our backyard done. I have a dream backyard. Then I get to like be happy and I feel this. It's like when we are looking for things outside of ourselves, we will never be happy. We will never be satisfied. It's like gluttony for the soul, you know? And it's one of those things where we have to find the contentment and the gratitude for where we are at this moment. This is why I know it's so cliche, but like gratitude is a very powerful thing. Having a gratitude journal or just saying it out loud to yourself and truly not just saying it, but feeling it. It truly does change your chemical makeup, your neuroplasticity in your brain. When you do that every single day. And, you know, it was that moment too, again, these past few years, it's been a lot of awareness. But it's like, wow, Felicia, you're not happy still. Like this happy needs to be cultivated from within you, not from any sort of outside source. And, you know, and I teach that now with a lot of the women, because a lot of the women that I attract into my like programs and things like that are high achieving women that are looking for the next thing, the success, the business. And, you know, one of the first things I teach is like finding that happiness within with like the simplest of things, right? Like what is something you can give me today that you are so grateful for, the most simplest of things, and like having a practice to remind yourself of that. So
I think that's like the practice of meditation. Like for me, especially this year, that's funny that we ran into my friend Kristen Cantrell, because she asked me, what's your word for this year? And it's peace. I just like, that's just what I want for everyone. I feel like that's just like what we're content. I don't know, like love, peace. But I think meditation was really hard for me at the beginning, especially when I was seeking it years ago when I like was anxiety ridden. Then you're forcing, you know, you're like, make me feel better, let me go zen, you know. But I think that what finally got me into that switch of meditation and like being able to tap in there, even if it's a 5-minute meditation, is I went through a thankful practice like in the morning, and I had to first write it to try to like make my mind connect. And then finally I just got to a place where I was like, you have to feel it. You can't just like say it and move on or think it. You have to feel it. So me, I'm very visual. And so just doing like 3 minutes while I'm breathing, and I think of one, I'll just give like a little small example that I know was a huge pivotal moment for my meditation practice. Was just thinking of something where my daughter knew that I couldn't get out of bed and like lift by myself after I had surgery. And so she learned how to do my laundry. And she just wanted to like take care of me so bad. And like that just, and she's stuck with it. She's still like, she's like, let me do this for you, Mama. I don't want you to hurt yourself. And so just thinking of this, like, I'm so thankful that this like being, like, how the hell did I, one, create this thing? And two, like, I'm just, what else can you ask for?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
This like little 9-year-old that,
I
So
love
just
that.
like sitting in that, like,
and you're right, it's feeling it. Like imagine, because okay, so like the feeling in our bodies, so like anxiety, the feeling of anxiety can also feel the same as excitement.
Yes.
Right, in your body. Like your
Butterflies.
butterflies, your heart's beating fast and you're like excited. Like imagine and I sometimes take my clients through this like little like, you know, visualization of just money, like having money. You know, a lot of the women that I work with like want to like make more money, and like, you know, I guide them through this visualization of like, imagine that one day someone calls you and says, oh, I'm going to deposit $50 million in your bank account. And I want you just to like sit with that for a little bit. But the caveat is you can't touch it for 2 weeks, right? So you know it's in your bank account, you know it's there, you can't touch it. How would you show up in the world for that 2 weeks knowing that that money is there? You're probably planning the things that you want to do with it. You are thinking about the people you want to help. You have this sense of like safety and security of like, oh my gosh, like I have this money, because for a lot of people, money is safety and security for them. And so like, how can we cultivate that within us now? Because the feeling is real, right? You can feel it in your body. You get excited. I love daydreaming.
Your
and
brain doesn't know.
Yeah. And I love, like, my favorite game is daydreaming. I daydream when I drive. Oftentimes I drive like in silence. And I get myself so excited about all the things that I want to do. And so like the first step in manifestation or prayer, or whatever it is that you are called to do, you for a lot of people, they have to see it before they believe it. But with manifestation, you have to believe it before you see it. And so this also starts with like feeling it in your body. And that is the first step in like calling in the things that you really want to call in.
I love that. I would hope, and like, I just think it's such a big thing. Like, you know, people talk about mental health all the time, and I think it's just health, but like, I just wish everyone could get pieces and just spend that little bit of time. I think that's like one of the biggest things that help my self-growth and inner work, is just figuring out how to do those things you said, like feel and be present, and like try meditation just for 5 minutes, like, and breathing. And stay consistent with just like that small step. It's with anything, you know, like working out or whatever. But I think that's a big,
huge,
especially because being an entrepreneur, business or mental health, like it's a real thing, having imposter syndrome.
Oh my gosh!
And even though you're feeling it and daydreaming it, but then don't you sometimes like you have that moment, all of a sudden you're like, what am I? Am I fake? What is happening? Like, am I going to lose everything? Is that, you know, you just start going down and it happens.
For sure. Oh my gosh. Entrepreneurship is the biggest lesson in personal development you'll ever get. If you think you're good,
not for everyone.
Try starting a business, because you will have things that are highlighted, your shadow self, all of the things that pop up that you did not know were there until you really put yourself out there. It also shows you who your true friends are. It shows you who has your back. It shows you who likes to see your light shine, because for some women stepping into the spotlight, unfortunately, it's a trigger essentially. So I mentioned shadow self earlier. So anytime you see someone online, maybe that woman like showing up in a bikini, like really loving her body, if you ever find yourself triggered by that, like, oh, why is she wearing that? Or, oh my gosh, she's a mom, or she shouldn't be doing that. Think of yourself why. Ask yourself why. Before judging her, ask yourself for a little bit, why am I so bothered by that? Like, why do I feel something? And so like, oftentimes it shows us parts of ourselves that we need to heal. So maybe you judge yourself. Maybe you wish you were that bold. Maybe you wish you could step into a bikini on the beach, and you're a mom of 4 and you're like, what? Like, maybe you hold yourself back, but maybe deep down inside you admire her. And so I you know, I've dealt with this for many years, being in entrepreneurship and having women like that in my life. And so it's really important to like ask yourself and thank the triggers. Like, oh my gosh, this is revealing something inside of me that I know I need to heal. And I get to do that work.
Think the first thought, and then tell yourself the second thought of like, okay, I'm going to change this.
Absolutely. And you know, it's really disheartening, especially now on social media, this day and age, is like, you know, a woman doing her thing and like really like whatever, you know, let's say social media, it's usually women that are bashing her, which is really unfortunate.
I definitely, it could be, I don't want to say a downfall, because I don't want to have to always like apologize for not taking things personal. Like, I really am pretty good, and I've worked so hard to not take things personal, but it can really like, especially for women, it can bring out insecurities and like this, you know? but I just wish that they could, you know, like remember, like go beyond your ego or just step back for a second. Because that is hard. Like the social media and putting yourself out there more. I'm feeling.
Like, have you ever experienced that? Because you've been showing up more and doing your thing and like creating and showing up in a really big way and, you know, creating your podcast. Like for you, who maybe has like not been in the spotlight and now like coming out front facing, have you experienced any of that?
Yeah.
Even with like women that you know?
In like small areas too, where it's not going to show publicly or where I would even address anything because I don't think it's for me to address. But just say it's like friends even and like a little DM of like, you know, it's interesting what I'm like, oh, I'm triggering something in them because of just them having a comment on like the way I'm talking or whatever. And I'm like, I know, I'm an idiot. Like I can't, like, I don't want to sit there on camera and, you know, but like, I also don't care.
Yeah.
So like, but I'm not going to, I don't sit and engage. I'm like, I know, it's so funny, right?
Yeah.
But it is interesting just so those little parts. And so I'm okay with that. But then finding out, like.
Also, you can feel energy too. You know, I don't know about you, but like I can truly feel like someone's energy and whether it's authentic or not. Yeah.
And then, but again, like changing the thought, because even my first thought might be like, I want to respond and just like let my friend know, like, why is this bugging you? You know? Yeah. But then I just know and like, no, this has nothing to do with me.
I love that. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It is her thing, her issue, her whatever. And you get to like continue living your life and choose not to be bothered by it. You know, you can be disappointed, you can be angry or whatever, frustrated, but like not letting it like dissuade you from your purpose. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, nothing crazy, but it still is like, I just am, the more I put myself out there, the more I'm just like running towards things that I'm like passionate about. It just brings so many good lessons. Yeah. And like a lot of my friends say that when I've experienced anxiety, because I have it all the time, like just even sitting here, it's part of me because I'm thinking of like what's back in my office that needs to get done and like, you know, being a business owner, but then I can sit with it still, sit with those butterflies. But they always say like, you know, you're creating your own anxiety because you love, like you put yourself in such uncomfortable positions. And I'm like, I just love, once you get a taste of being uncomfortable and seeing how it can bring you so much like either love, joy, lesson, like where you're supposed to go, I'm like, I'm all for it. Like, okay, 30-day cold plunge. Okay, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And it changed my life.
Yeah. Well, that's where the growth happens, right? Yeah. That like sitting in the discomfort is truly where the growth happens. Yeah. You know, because what fun is it to always do things that are just comfortable and that are predictable? Yeah. Right? It's like the growth happens in that discomfort. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people still like, they'll be like, nope, I don't want to be, you know, so then that's when to me a sign of like, okay, you're not ready. Yeah. And that's fine. But and I think sometimes it's just all fear and you have to say like, as long as you acknowledge it, you tell yourself like, this is going to be uncomfortable and I'm okay with that. And the beauty of it, like being able to still feel uncomfortable, but finding the beauty in it. I think that's all like what it's about. Cause like every lesson that's going to come to you, that's life.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So good.
Okay. Yeah. So let's switch gears here. By the way, like I love this because so far it's going to be interesting as my podcast grows. That like finding, you know, talking to someone that's running for mayor. I'm not probably talking about human design. Yeah, absolutely. But these are things like I have this like I'm a 21-year licensed massage therapist. Like a lot of like what people are reading now is what like I had to go to school with the body keeping score. And so I've always just been this like my mind, body, soul, like natural. And so I want to like, you know, learn how to show up for that through and like let people know who I am, but also, I don't know, like be able to, hey, I'm going to talk to a politician.
Heck yeah, absolutely. I think, you know,
so this is refreshing.
Absolutely. And I think being a good interviewer and just, I think in general, just being a curious person. Yeah. I love curiosity.
Very curious.
Being curious. Oh, like, why did you do that? Like, what? what made you interested in politics? Like,
Yeah, right.
I think just being a curious person will take you down so many roads you were not expecting.
Yeah.
And so, so just stay curious and have fun.
Yeah. I know. I ask all the questions, which sometimes can get me in trouble. Okay. But switching gears, like personally, I've been noticing that you're doing badass at pickleball.
Yes. Pickleball's so fun. I'm literally doing like tournaments.
Is it like, does it tap into, I just started, like just started doing lessons and like, I just don't have time to be consistent yet, but it tapped into where I'm like, oh, I forgot, like, I like being competitive.
Yeah.
And that like athletic, like I got to get better. And so for me, that's very exciting because when you're like, what do I want? Who am I? And going into the dating world, by the way, and they ask you, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I work, I have kids. Like, I didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, yes, I'm dating pickleball.
Yes. Pickleball's great. It's a great partner, by the way.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
No, I've been playing for 2.5 years now. And I'm doing all the things. I'm in leagues. I'm in tournaments. I just played in a tournament this last weekend, and we got bronze. And it was like a stacked class. Like everyone, I probably had the lowest duper at like a 3.8. Everyone there was like 3.8 to 4.6.
I won't tell you.
Like I was playing. Like my partner was a 4.6 duper, awesome. And so it's so fun. And
putting yourself out there.
Putting yourself out there, the competitiveness, you're so right. But it also reminded me, like this tournament this last weekend was great, but it also reminded me like, you know what, I can choose for this just to be fun too. Like this doesn't have to be stressful.
Yeah.
Like this doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, because I'm not like winning money, you know?
Right.
And so I think I have to remind myself that too. Being a competitive person, I have to remind myself to just, Felicia, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like it's okay.
You get in your head and then you're like, oh, now I'm sucking.
Yeah. Or I get down on myself. Or like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
I'm not good as this person.
Yeah.
And then I want to be better.
Some people are very competitive.
Super competitive. And they'll like let you know it. They'll like get angry. I'm like, okay, calm down. Like we're not winning $1 million here. We're not pros.
That messes with my mind when I'm playing someone and they're like not having fun.
Yeah.
I start like getting worse.
Yeah.
And so when it's like someone that like the energy's flowing, I've never played better. And it's like I'll go all night long.
Yeah, energy's important. Keith and I, we realize that whenever we've been playing and we're partners, that the negative energy makes our partnership inside pickleball worse. And so we're like, okay, beyond anything, let's always just stay positive and give ourselves positive reinforcement. And we do better.
On the ass.
Yeah.
And like, just make it fun.
Just have fun. Yeah. Like this isn't, the end of the world if we lose, but like, when you are a competitive spirit, it can get that way for sure.
Yeah.
So
And when the thing I love about pickleball is like you're setting yourself up in this like community in this world where when are you going to get the chance to like sweat, be athletic, have fun, but also like from like teenagers to freaking badass like 70-year-old kicking my ass.
Yeah.
And so it's just like such a cool experience to like you're never going to have so much human contact in different areas.
For sure. I've met so many amazing women and men, but mainly women. Like the leagues, like even tomorrow I'm hosting a workshop in Gilbert, and like a handful of the women going I met from pickleball.
Yes.
And they're in entrepreneurship. So I'm like, this is just so fun.
Yeah. Tell us more about what you're doing tomorrow, and just so that people know, like, Felicia always has, like, I just would love to see your year, because I know you have it. You are like, this is what I need to, I'm going to get on board with your organization. And like,
I'm definitely proactive.
Yes. You have your year goals. But tell us about tomorrow. And then like, what do you see the rest of the year? Like, what do you have?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So depending on when this podcast is coming out,
it'll be a while.
Yeah. So tomorrow is a workshop that I'm hosting, but I host workshops probably every quarter, and they're in person for women in business and this one is specifically is called the Launch Party, but this was just kind of a one-off that I wanted to create with my friend Kiana. My signature programs are the Six Figure Circle. Okay. So it's a mastermind weekend retreat. So I include a lot of the modalities that I actually talked about in today's podcast. So like the way that I create transformation, and I just love creating events because I love for a woman to experience immense transformation. And so the way that I host my events is like when she leaves, she walks in, like I literally want them to like take a picture of yourself, because the woman at the end of this is going to be a different woman.
Transformation.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting because I intertwine the feminine and the masculine energies. So like day one, and I host these every quarter, and they're at my house.
Okay.
So
they're like intimate.
They're intimate. Yeah. And my next one's in November. So I don't know when this podcast will come out, but
before then.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect. So essentially like the Friday is the feminine embodiment day. Okay. So I always bring in like experts that really tap into the inner work. So like my last one, we did a sound bath, and I had a Bazi expert come in. She does like Chinese astrology, giving people individual readings. I have a live podcast where I bring in a woman who is like an epic guest. I'm actually manifesting right now the manifestation babe for my next one. And so like, you know, really just talking about like being in the room with a woman who has done really amazing things and having these very intimate conversations. And so like that's the Friday. And then we also do like goddess yoga. We do like stuff for creativity. Like it's a lot of fun, journaling. Then Saturday is the masculine strategy day. So like I usually bring in guest experts when it comes to sales or social media. We get clear on their goals. I also love doing something called six-figure circle. So the six-figure circle is the woman gets in front of the room. Mm-hmm. I set the timer for 8 minutes, and we have a list of questions, usually 4 or 5 supporting questions where they get to ask the group what they need. Right. So it's a support circle where they go through like what they're challenged by, what they're really excited for, the ask of the group. And there has been some amazing things that have happened inside six-figure circles from women who are like, oh, I really want to connect with a book editor. I know a book editor. Amazing. They connect. Yes. Oh, I really want to get on the Today Show. Oh, I know someone who works for the Today Show. Let me get you a booking. Yeah. Like amazing things have happened to where these women who all know this person or that person. And so like your ask could literally be collaboration or connecting you with the right person. It's like the ultimate networking. That's awesome. And it's so much fun. Yeah. And then we have a celebratory dinner. And I have women that come in from out of state to come to these. Are they
staying with you at your house? Or they?
No, I usually get a retreat house. So like an Airbnb. Okay. And women who are coming in from out of town have the option to like upgrade and do like a fee for the Airbnb, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah, it's so good.
So who would, for the listeners, who is the ideal person that needs to come to this?
Yes. So it's called a six-figure circle. So ideally it's a woman that's already hitting 6 figures in her business. That's not a deal breaker though. Yeah. So if you're like at 80K or 90K, and I'm not like looking at your bank account. So, but you know, really honestly, I call it the 6-figure circle because when women have hit that 6-figure mark, that's, you know, $8,333 a month to $10,000 a month, they are experiencing different things than a woman who hasn't hit her first 5K yet. Right. So like, the conversations are going to be different. What she needs is going to be different. So typically it's a woman in business. This could be a service provider, consultant, online coach. I've had real estate agents, authors, women who own brick and mortars. I have a couple people who've already signed up for the next one who own like counseling clinics who really want to scale. So it's really women in business who are at that 6-figure mark who want to scale their income, number one. Want to connect with like-minded women, want to build community, and also want to break past their upper limit. So a lot of these women have been maybe stuck at their certain income, and they're like, I don't know how to get over that, right?
Yeah. So and then after this, what can they like expect after they do this retreat? Is it like, you get an alumni like get together, or do you have a Facebook page, or how do you? You know, like what's the steps after the retreat? Sorry, I know you're choking.
Cup, please. I have a little tickle in my throat. Excuse me. Yes, so the women stay connected. It's not like a membership or anything. I've thought about doing like a longer container. That just doesn't interest me right now. Yeah. I used to host like 6-month, masterminds and things like that. There is opportunity for that in 2025, but right now with everything I have going on, I really like just collapsing time and having those intimate moments with the women. Yeah. But we definitely stay connected. Yeah. But man, some amazing things have happened after the podcast. I had one woman who literally launched her book and went on a book tour. Another woman that she literally she found so much clarity that she ended up going on a 20-day yoga retreat, became yoga certified, and now she's like teaching yoga and doing amazing things. Like it's pretty epic. That's so amazing. you gain so much clarity.
Yeah.
And also like you change, you shift, you know, so it's really amazing to see.
And they like took the time. I feel like when it's like, you go to these like conferences that are just in and out, or just like an event that's at night, it's just not enough. Like you had a babysitter for a couple hours where you have to step outside of your current like
And
situation.
also, I give them all of the tools to be able to step into that next version self. And so, yes, we stay connected. We tune it. We like check in. We have like Zoom calls after, just because the women love to connect. But there has been like lifelong friendships that have been made because of it too. And business partnerships that I've seen flourish and like birth. Like it's really epic. It's really amazing to see.
That's awesome. I love that so much. Okay, so where do you picture yourself 5 years from now?
Ooh, 5
Like
years from now.
business, personal, like...
Okay, so 5 years from now, definitely invested in more real estate. So Keith and I, our next purchase will probably be a retreat house in Sedona.
Okay.
I don't think I will be doing like one-on-one coaching anymore. I don't feel that for myself, but I do see myself creating more like legacy type businesses.
Okay.
And so I've owned brick and mortars for a long time. So just kind of putting it out on the universe, we do want to like invest in like commercial real estate, whether it be buy land or rent, probably land. But I want to do like a salon suites with like the podcast, with like content, with a co-working space, coffee shop. Probably minimum 12,000 square feet. So we've already like looked into this. This is something we want to do, but again, it's timing, but that's sort of like my legacy building.
Okay.
So
love
that will be in the future. So probably more involved in real estate than what I am now.
Yeah.
And then with our own personal real estate. So like Keith, he owns 6 homes. I own 2 of them with him. And so like, if like in Arizona, you probably know this, but you have to have someone with a real estate license if you own 6 or more, if you have 6 or more properties, because then it's considered property management. So I got my real estate license 4 years ago. But yeah, our next purchase is probably going to be a Sedona house. And then we want to do more after that.
Yeah.
And then commercial. So yeah.
So speaking of commercial, I'll just have to think of you, like, because I'm getting more involved with the city of Mesa and a lot of the infill development.
Oh, I would love that. Keep me in the know.
There's some good opportunities out there. That's why too I'm wanting to do this, because of just bringing on certain developers and like trying to. I just love being that like that person, like kind of hosting. Yeah. But then like, let me put you and you together and like see what you can create. Yeah. But I have this thing too with like, I don't know if you're just looking in certain areas, but Mesa and just because I'm a native as well, that like, I just see the potential, and there's a ton of potential, especially right now when I'm in downtown Mesa. So speaking of Mesa, do you have a hidden gem somewhere that anyone needs to know, like in the East Valley, like a hike or a place to eat? What's your like favorite?
Oh my gosh.
Don't be a gatekeeper.
Yeah. Let me think about this for a little bit. Well, I love Wind Cave. So the Wind Cave hike, it's relatively easy hike, but also it's challenging. Like it's like you're going up, but you're not like scaling a mountain. So I love that hike. I also love, we found recently this little like Mexican food restaurant called Jalapeno Bucks. And we take our Polaris, like we just recently, so we're very big on like, so we bought the Polaris knowing that it's going to live in Sedona. So we bought it first because we do want a Sedona house. So we recently bought this. And so we take like, every couple nights a week, we'll drive our Polaris down to like, because it's like 2 minutes away. And we'll take Rylan, which is my stepson, and we'll eat outside. And it's like Mexican food, but it's like literally like this tiny shack. It's this tiny little thing. But it's so good.
Right off the freeway.
Their burritos are amazing.
They are like so if I'm going to cheat, because I'm dairy free and gluten free, it is like, if I knew I was dying, I'm going to go get a fried bean burrito from them.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a hidden gem.
It's so good.
You would, if you blink, you miss it, but it's like right off the freeway.
And now you can kind of see it more because certain home builders have taken all the trees down.
They started cutting the trees. So you can see them.
But that's a good one.
Yeah, that one's fun. And it's down the street from our house. Yeah. So we really love that place. And then that we like for like, Usury Pass, like right up there where Wind Cave is by Superstition Mountain. Like it's like 10 minutes from us. So that's kind of nice to have that there.
Do you guys picture yourself always like living in Mesa or full time here?
You know what? We used to live in Gilbert. I grew up in Gilbert. Mesa's been great because we wanted land and we were able to secure a piece of land. I don't know. I mean, we love our home, but also like the equity on it is insane right now. And and we own it outright. There's no mortgage on it. So it would be like an awesome, I remember like back in the day when like all the real estate was going crazy, Keith was like, let's sell. Because it would have been a huge profit. And it was right before capital gains. So, but I'm like, Keith, you do realize we have to find a place, right? And he's like, well, let's just move back into one of our other houses because we have rentals. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like this is like my dream house and we haven't got to enjoy it yet. But I don't know. Like I'm not so much married to the idea that we have to stay in this place. Like I'm not so attached to things. So I'm open to like whatever that may look like. And I'm just like leaving room for magic. So
it would be a great like big Airbnb for when like the Phoenix Open comes.
Yes.
Or something like you go and stay in your Sedona house or something.
Oh, for sure.
Like it is unbelievable. Like 40,000 in 1 week.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Oh my gosh, we totally could do something like that. And I actually stayed at an Airbnb in Colorado when I went to a retreat, and I remember talking to the owner of that home, and it was amazing. It was a beautiful home in Lakeland, Colorado, and she Airbnb'd it, I think twice a month, because she was going through a divorce, and she didn't want to get rid of her home. And her husband was a sole provider. And she's like, this is a way that I make money. And she stays with her mom down the street. And she makes like 20K a month.
Doing the same thing.
20K a month. Because it's beautiful. Beautiful home. It was like $1,000 a night or maybe even more. It was huge. It was beautiful, but she didn't want to get rid of it. And so she would Airbnb it twice a month and stay with her mom. And that
if you're
allowed
able
her
to and like have the setup to where you can like go in and out, it's amazing.
Yeah. And it allowed her to, keep it and make a lot of money. So
that's awesome.
That's a great idea. We didn't even think about that.
Think of any of the events that are happening in Phoenix, like Super Bowl or whatever. It's a big one. Because even just that, I live not far from you, and there's a lot of houses, like 30,000 I saw she made in, was it Super Bowl this last year? Yeah, like in a 4-bedroom. Way smaller than yours.
Wow.
But it was remodeled and beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. That's good to know. I have like my wheels turning now.
Girl,
like, wait,
that could be like a down payment.
What is the next event?
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Wow. But then they are in your space, right?
Yeah. That's the only thing is like, they're like in your space. They're living. So, but again, $30,000 in a week. That's like a no-brainer.
I know. Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking this time. It's funny because I'm still in the place of where I feel guilty asking people to take time out of their day to just come talk to Joe Schmo. But I am curious, and I feel like there's a reason why I keep like paying attention and have like drawn to your light and certain people that's why I'm like, I'm going to just reach out and put it out there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If it's something that's like good for you or good for me, but I really am appreciative.
Thank you. I love podcasts. So this is going to be great. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
And for people to listen to everything that you're going to be sharing and doing. So this is so cool.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want the people to know about you?
No. I mean, if there's a woman out there that's curious about any of the programs that I have or like the events that I host, I mean, you'll be able to find that information on my Instagram. So Felicia Romero, just at Felicia Romero, first name, last name. And then you can also like check out my website, FeliciaRomero.com.
What's
with
your
all that
podcast
stuff.
name?
The Hi Felicia podcast. Yeah. So just I'm going to be hitting, it's now been 6 years so that I've had that podcast. So it's been a lot of fun. A lot of great conversations.